Persian Warrior and Loopy face off in an Elf grudge match, but not the one we're used to. It's High Elves and Wood Elves. And the High Elves are going to try and Out-Kite the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves are not having it with a Cav and Vanguard rush of their own. I knew I was going to cast this one based off just the builds. Then I did my little preview of the game to at least make sure it was kind of close because I don't want to embarrass anybody if they played horrendously or something. And it ended up being a pretty close game. Checked that a couple days ago, so I honestly don't remember who won at this point. Alright, for the Wood Elves, we have 3 Wild Riders and 3 Great Stag Knights. We have 5 Dryads and Drycha with Pendulum, Melkos Mystifying Miasma, and her Summon. On the other side, we have 4 Shadow Walkers, an Archmage of High Magic with Apotheosis, Tempest, and Soul Quench, and then some Spearmen and triple Dragon Princes for a bit of presence. Shadow Walkers are the more elite 360 shooters of the High Elves, not like the Shadow Warriors, which are the 850 ones. The Shadow Walker is actually getting more damage onto Foot Drycha than I would have imagined. Dragon Princes take free charges onto the Dryads, but it is not so free as the Wild Riders and Great Stag Knights are closing in, ready to try and get some value back. It looks like this might have just been a bait to get them in range of the Shadow Walkers, who do fire those Wild Riders with their shields. Now, both Great Stag Knights and Wild Riders are shielded. Their low armor and high price point still makes them a worthy target to shoot at. Not a worthy target is a Summoned Malevolent Dryad. They should be shooting at only real things. Pendulum is going to go through a couple units. We'll see how much damage it does, but it was ambitious. Gets a little bit of poke on the Shadow Walkers. It was predictive, though. No one is in melee or standing still. Dryad's starting to catch up some of their Spearmen counterparts. Break that charge reflection so maybe Great Stag Knights can get a good side charge. It looks like we are getting one now. Full tilt, boys. Boop. Little bit of damage, but going lengthwise down in infantry is tough for cavalry to get a lot of value, but they might actually rout off the Spearmen, so maybe it'll be okay. Dryad's still getting poked down by Shadow Walkers. The Dragon Princess is zoning out a lot of Wood Elf cavalry. Wood Elves just don't seem to want that smoke right now. One Dragon Princess sitting on the back line waiting for these Wild Riders and Great Stag Knights to come around to play. And Spearmen sally forth just to get some pokes on some big angry deer. The Shadow Walkers continue to fire around. Soul Quench comes for these grouped up Dryads. Let's see how much damage it does down the side. Decent, but it targeted in a way that it actually hit more High Elf Spearmen. Not that it's the player's fault, it's just where the missile decides to come out. But ends up being kind of a wash on the Soul Quench. Melkos Mystifying Miasma hurting those Dragon Princes. And there is limited healing for both sides, as the only healing spell in the whole game is Apotheosis from this High Mage. Spearmen fighting against Dryads, as the Dryads attempt to keep closing in. And these Shadow Walkers have been unhindered most of the game, continuing to fire freely into whatever they feel like. As the Wood Elves are keeping most of the cavalry back, I guess in fear of the skirmish, but it's looking a little rough. Dryads getting run down by these Dragon Princes and they'll rout soon enough. Other Dragon Princes also trying to help out against the Dryads, and the third Dragon Prince is just maintaining its position, waiting for those other Wood Elf Cav to come in. But here we go. Finally, the Dragon Princes get charged, and it's a bit of a fight between who gets the charge. If the Wood Elves get the charge, they'll do a lot more damage to Dragon Princes, where if the Dragon Princes charge them, then it is a bad time. Dragon Princes trying to chase down Great Stag Knights, but get hit with the Melkots, and they do get the charge this time on those Great Stag Knights, but they'll get wrapped up by Wild Riders and Drycha. Honestly, those Great Stag Knights should just turn and take the fight now. If the Wild Riders are coming in, they can sandwich them and get good damage out. Wild Riders and Great Stag Knights standing off. Got some good damage on the Dragon Princes. Now they're falling back, and the Shadow Walkers continue to rain fire on their heads. This Dragon Prince is overextended from the red side. Looks like it will get killed. Now it's doing decent damage on the Great Stag Knights and Wild Riders as it goes, but it should overall end up being a good trade for the Wood Elves. Should. But we'll see. Dragon Princes are tenacious. Elsewhere, they still have more cavalry trying to wrap around as the Shadow Walkers continue to kite through their spears and Dragon Princes. They've done a great job so far of staying alive and staying active. Melkos Mystifying Miasma trying to help finish off the Dragon Princes. The Great Stag Knights are running out of gas, and so are the Wild Riders. They really need these guys to rout so that they can just get them out of here and continue with their day. Some Spearmen, some Dragon Princes have been routed off. Dragon Princes also take a fight with these Wild Riders as the Shadow Walkers retreat behind Spearmen, and brace Spearmen take the charge from those Wild Riders like champions. Now, the Shadow Walkers are finally disrupted a little bit by Great Stag Knights, and this Eagle Caster is fighting Drycha, which is actually a good trade for the High Elves. Most things have been a good trade for the High Elves thus far, and more Wild Riders are coming in. It is a sandwich, though, and the Shadow Walkers cannot escape. They can only get run down by the deer. More Great Stag Knights, more deer piling in, taking care of these Shadow Walkers, and this is a big moment for the Wood Elves to stay in this game, to stay competitive. Apotheosis was cast on something, but I'm not entirely sure what, as we have 2 Shadow Walkers taking significant damage and getting routed off, and Dragon Princess Spearman trying to bail them out. Drycha is winning the fight against the Archmage of High Magic at this point. She stayed too long, her charge bonus is worn off, and Drycha is a fearsome melee combatant, especially if she gets more damaged. Great Stag Knights jump in, also getting that buff from Drycha, and they might just rout or kill that High Mage. Wood Elves are not immune to damage, however, and this prolonged fight has been hurting them significantly. We have 1 healthy Great Stag Knight, 2 Cav at half HP, and then Dryads are all almost dead. For the High Elves, their Archmage of High Magic does get routed, but she'll end up getting into the sky. And how are their Dragon Princes? 1 is almost dead and routing. Another is about half HP, and I don't see the third, so I have to assume they're off the map at this point. Shadow Walkers, 3 of them are still really online, but they don't have a ton of ammunition between them. 1 is just sitting at the edge of the map waiting to die, and die it shall. Boop. Goodbye, Shadow Walkers. Great Stag Knights trying to chase down these Dragon Princes. High Mage comes back, uses Apotheosis on herself, but Drycha has a Melkoths for those Dragon Princes. The Great Stag Knights turn and take the fight with them. With their dying breaths, they have other Great Stag Knights to give them a little bit more of a boost. The Wood Elves are getting a good second wind. They have some rallying Dryads to pressure Shadow Walkers and stuff, but most of their hopes and dreams are on this 1 healthy Great Stag Knight. And a Soul Quench is out to try and damage that Great Stag Knight. Does not do a lot. Don't love the Soul Quench on the Great Stag Knights. But aside from that, I mean, we have another Great Stag Knight who has a little bit of HP to offer. Drycha has a little bit of HP to offer. The rest of the Wood Elves are just so tattered, there's not a whole lot they can do. The Shadow Walkers still have a decent amount of ammunition and good model count. 2 healthy-ish Spearmen. And then we do have an Archmage of High Magic with healing and pokes she can cast from the sky. And she's entirely safe in the sky. The Wood Elves have literally nothing that can hurt her up there. No archers, no Spirit Legion, nothing. She would see what she does with that agency. Shadow Walkers using all of their ammunition on Great Stag Knights at this point. They know their Spearmen can hold off the Dryads, or at least what's left of the Dryads. And the Archmage of High Magic is going to want to find a way to finish off Drycha. She started working on her earlier, but she stayed too long and took a bunch of damage. If she can kill Drycha, that'll lower the Wood Elf leadership enough that maybe they can rout literally everything besides that last Great Stag Knight, and then grind him down to the tears in the late game. Soul Quench is out yet again. Let's see how much damage does to Drycha. Wow, actually really good damage to Drycha. Okay. Okay, we take those. Apotheosis for her, Soul Quench for Drycha. The balance power gets better as the High Elves stall this out a little bit. They're shooting at those Great Stag Knights. They're not doing as much damage as I would have hoped from the Shadow Walkers, but they're trying. They're trying their damnedest. Slowly but surely they'll get it done. Spearmen get rear charged by the Great Stag Knights, taking a good amount of damage, but not as much as I would have thought on impact. Looks like the Great Stag Knights had some sort of issue. High Mage is diving down onto Drycha, misses the first attack, then just starts pushing her. Just single entity things. She ends up flubbing it, routs Drycha, and misses another attack, but the Great Stag Knights are upon her. We'll see if she can get away, get back into the sky in the distance while I watch these Shadow Walkers try and fight. And a key moment is occurring right now as the Great Stag Knights, and other Wild Riders who barely managed to rally have come back to the fight and are sandwiching in our poor Shadow Warriors. One of the Shadow Walkers that is out of ammo is fighting these Dryads to try and get rid of them. The other 2 that still have ammo are doing their best to kite away. Wild Riders about to rout again. The Great Stag Knights that are here taking so much damage. In the distance, the High Mage with Apotheosis helping her out. She is leading the Great Stag Knights away, and they're doing good damage to her, but at least she is distracting that 1 healthy unit of the Wood Elves, and she does manage to get back into the sky, being a slippery elf caster on that eagle. Shadow Walker, 1 volley and 2 for the other one. And the Eagle caster is back up in the sky, uses Soul Quench on Drycha. Does it hit, and how much damage does it do? She only has 600 HP left. Big hit, and that is 13 health left on Drycha, and she routs for a second time. 6 HP on her in the end, because I think the Soul Quench actually has a little damage over time effect that I keep forgetting. Wood Elves are down to a Dryad. Apotheosis once again for the Archmage of High Magic. The Shadow Warriors have used all... Shadow Walkers, sorry. Have used all but 1 of their volleys on all of their units. I guess there was one that was routed off the map, but 3 of their units was all their ammo, which is pretty nuts. Dredge is still alive by 6 HP, and it looks like the Eagle Caster is not going to go over there and bother. How much does Soul Quench even cost? 7 wins magic? Okay. I guess you could maybe chuck one over there and kill Dreicha. Dreicha does rally with 6 HP. The Archmage is turning towards her. I wonder if she goes all the way over there and lands. As Shadow Walkers shoot their last couple shots into a routing Great Stag Knight that does not have a shield in the right direction because it's routing. Soul Quench takes her out. Dreicha is dead. Leadership swings against the Wood Elves, and everything they have besides this one Great Stag Knight is going to rout. Archmage of High Magic coming over to say hello. The Great Stag Knight's down to half their leadership, less than half their HP. And the High Elves are coming in with a bunch of spears and Shadow Walkers who do melee poison damage. But these Great Stag Knights are fearsome. As long as they can charge, they can take out a lot of spearmen. Now, this was played with tournament rules, so the Great Stag Knight can't just cycle charge. It needs to commit to a charge and do what it can. Reforming over here a bit. Now it is going back for one final charge where it will end up staying in this fight. Probably until its death one way or the other. But the spearmen are getting so close to routing. That was a huge charge from these guys. There go one of the spearmen. There go one of the archers. There goes another spearman. There goes another archer. And that's probably going to be GG, as I don't know how the High Mage can deal with this without any infantry support whatsoever. The Great Stag Knights are now trying to charge some Shadow Walkers they see in the distance. Don't really want to stay near that Archmage of High, I guess, but I don't know why. Yeah, now they're coming back. I was like, that makes more sense. You just want to kill off these guys. One of the Shadow Walkers does rally. The Archmage of High lands in the middle of these Great Stag Knights, and they're kind of torn between just surrounding her and killing her or taking out the Shadow Walkers. Now they get orders to actually deal with her. She killed one of their number, and now the Archmage is trying to lead them on a bit of a soiree again, but I really don't know what the delay is going to do for her, unfortunately, for her sake. Like, everything besides her is routing. Even if these spearmen come back, they're not going to do very much against the Great Stag Knights. The Great Stag Knights should be able to carry this. Balance power is in the Caster Lord's favor, but as she takes damage, it starts to swing wildly. Realizing that she can't actually deal with these Great Stag Knights, she gets butchered, and the Wood Elves will prevail. GG, very close game. For Persian Warrior, 2,500 on Dreicha. Great Stag Knights, almost 3,000 on one. The others struggled a bit to pay for themselves, but they did okay. Wild Riders did all right, and Dryads were very tenacious and annoying. For Loopy, his Lord did okay. Dragon Princes did well. Shadow Walkers, overall not the damage value you want to be seeing out of a unit that used all of their ammunition. And then usually on really good targets too. So, I don't know. They need some love. Spearman did fine. Spearman held forever. GG. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.